Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Weston, and I will be your field supervisor for your ASU practicum experience this semester. I have sent you this video just to help introduce you to this semester, introduce you to me. A couple of you are my repeat students from last semester, and we already know each other very well, but some of you are new. And so this gives you the opportunity to meet me. I can go over the things that we're going to do this semester. It's good review even for my returning students. So without any further ado, I'm just going to start going over that important information document that I sent you. I know that was an overload to send 12 documents all in one email, but it seems to work out better that way. They don't get lost or you don't miss an email. So the first thing, and what I'm going to do is just go through that document that is titled Field Supervision Important Information. I'm just going to walk through that document because just about everything that you need to know about this semester is included in that document. So we will start out with print and save, create a notebook. I know that sounds ridiculous. You are graduate students and creating a notebook is so high school, but trust me on this, it will help you in the long run to just print those 10 documents, put them in a notebook. That gives you a place if you need to print an email or reminders about something, a calendar. It gives you a place where everything is at your fingertips and it will really pay off. I have my own notebook that I do the exact same thing with. So please take this suggestion to heart and just make a notebook with those 10 documents and then anything else that needs to be put in there. Those documents include this document that we're going to go over today, the Field Supervisor Important Information. It includes the 3 sets of domains that are included in each of your observations, and then it includes the coaching tips. And I sent 6 sets of coaching tips. So let's just start and go through this important information document. Where it says observations, there are 3 formal observations each semester. An observation process includes a pre-conference, the actual observation, and then a post-conference of that observation. So let's discuss the pre-conference first. You have a pre-conference before each observation. So you have 3 observations, you will have 3 pre-conferences. In that pre-conference, we usually establish the date that we're going to do your actual observation. We can talk about what subjects would be good for that observation, what things, fall in this particular window. If you have any questions, you can ask me anything at any time, email, text, phone, anything you have. Never, ever hesitate to ask me something. That's what I'm here for. I'm your contact person, and that's what I'm here for. So this pre-conference, the first one is the longest by far, and it will probably take 30 minutes at least to do the first pre-conference. We're just getting to know each other. We're talking about your goals. We're talking about the experiences that you are having, the current things you're being allowed to do. And then we go through the actual domains and standards for that observation period. So for example, observation 1 covers domains 2, 3, and 4. So we will discuss those domains and standards in that pre-conference. And I'm looking for kind of 3 levels of your understanding of those domains and those standards. I'm looking, are you just familiar with it? You've heard it, you've read it, you're familiar with it. Or the second level might be you've seen your counselor do it, but you've never actually done it yourself. And then the third level is that you have actually performed or done something, experienced that domain standard yourself. So that's kind of what I'm looking for when we discuss those. So just never hesitate to ask a question. I will ask questions for clarification, but we will be getting to know each other. We'll be establishing a relationship so that we have that trust and that bond with each other. And we just talk about our standards and our domains and and our plans. Now, these will be done virtually. I prefer virtual. I don't, and when we talk about observations, I prefer either face-to-face or virtual rather than video, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. So whatever virtual program your school uses, if you use Zoom, if your school, now Zoom, we can use Zoom for free up to, I think, about 40 minutes, and then it cuts us off. So we could probably Zoom the pre-conferences, but it will cut you off unless you have the paid Zoom program. We can use whatever your school uses, Teams, Google Meet, Zoom, whatever your school uses is fine with me. I'll try to access it, and it should be just fine. So pre-conference, we will set that up prior to, not on the same day usually, prior to the observation. It can be the same day, but it's not usually. And we will discuss all of those domains and standards, discuss what you're going to do in your observation and any questions or anything that may arise. Then the actual observation itself, be 3 observations. For most of you, there will be 1 face-to-face observation and 2 virtual observations. There are a couple of you that are pretty far off that I will not drive to you probably to do an observation. But if you are within range of hour and a half or so, I usually go to you and do an observation. So we will do 1 face-to-face unless you're too far, and 2 that are virtual by whatever virtual means you choose. We have to have a total of 135 minutes of observation time. So if one observation is an hour, then another one could be 30 minutes. It's the total amount of time. But normally we try to do 45-minute observations. But there are cases to where we have a longer one and then do some shorter ones. And if we go over that 135 minutes, that's fine, of course. Now, there may be instances, for example, in individual counseling. If you're doing individual counseling, you're not going to individually counsel most of the time with a student for 45 minutes. You might do 3 students for 15 minutes, and we would combine those. Your school may only allow you 30 minutes for a guidance program. So we might do a 30 minutes guidance lesson and then do a 15-minute how you planned it, how you lined it out, how you determined, something that we add to that makes it a 45-minute observation. So the observation, again, I prefer either virtual or face-to-face for that relationship building so that we have very good back and forth conversation, and that we're not, it's just so impersonal to do them through video. And again, I will talk about that. But I want it to be as stress-free as possible. I want you to enjoy this experience. And I know there's stress involved with it, but I really do want to stress, use that word again, tell you how much I want it to be stress-free. I see your best work when you're stress-free. And so I try to relax you. I try to equip you and to make sure that you're going into these observations where you have confidence in them and you're not so stressed that it really limits your ability. So I'm not looking for your faults. I'm looking for the good things that you do. I'm looking for your strengths, and then we'll build on those strengths. And if there are some areas that we need to really expand on and build on, we'll do that. But that's what this semester is all about. So try not to just get too stressed out over these observations, and just enjoy them and know that I'm there looking for the good things that you do. And I'm certainly going to point out those good things for you. Your site supervisor does not need to be in these observations. They certainly may. They are certainly welcome to be, but they are not required to be in my observation. So just whatever they want to do, but I do want them in the post-conference. It's very, very important that they are in the post-conference, because we'll of course discuss the observation in that post-conference, but that gives me a chance to build relationship with them, to give them input, to talk about the experiences that you're getting there on the campus and their supervision process. So that really allows the three of us a time to communicate. So it's really important. ASU really likes for us to have them in our post-conference. So let's talk about the post-conference. Another thing I want to say about the observations, the virtual observations. I know some of you have very strict district policy about students being in videos. Many of you have on the sheet that the parents sign at the beginning of the semester, they check if their student can be videoed. So I have all kinds of background checks of every kind. And so normally me seeing students in a video is not a problem, but if it's a problem of any kind with your district, all I need to see is you in a video. So you can set the camera of your computer or your phone, whatever we're doing our virtual observation with, and all I have to see is you. I need to see you, I need to hear you, and I need to be able to hear the reactions and the input of the students. So if there's a problem with me, it's not any different. I would be allowed to come in and sit in your classroom and observe you. But if there is something, a snag with them being on video, that's perfectly fine. You can just set the camera so that I only see you, but that I can hear you and hear the student responses. Then the post-conference. I like for the post-conference to be immediately after the observation, if at all possible. That way we can have the site supervisor come in on either our virtual, or if I'm there in person, we get that feedback from them. It's all fresh on our mind. We can discuss your observation. I will always ask you what you thought about it. Do you think there was anything you should have or could have done differently? Anything that would have made it better? What did you feel like your strengths were? I really want you to have that reflective process on your own observations, because when you get out there on your own to do guidance or individual counseling, whatever it is that you're doing in your counseling role, you need to be able to reflect on that so that you continuously grow throughout your career. And so that post-conference gives us that time to do that. And the fresher it is on our minds, the better. So post-conference immediately after the observation, if at all possible. And then after that post-conference, at some point, I will fill out the Google form that goes to ASU. I will forward that form to you and to your site supervisor, and to ASU, of course, and that you will need to load that into Blackboard by the end of the observation period. I have given you a calendar in this important information, and you will see, for example, I'm looking at that calendar right now. The blue section deals with observation number 1. It tells you in the second column that the site supervisor evaluation is due before the pre-conference so that we could discuss anything that might be reflected on that. And then before the observation, I need to see that you have at least a few hours logged for that observation window. And you're going to have to get some hours logged very early in the month in order to do that, because my observations are going to be early in the month. And so even if it's just a few hours in a couple of domains, that's fine. I just need to see that you're on the ball, that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you have that log in progress for this particular window of observations. And I need to see that you have your journal started. That may mean that you have just selected the topic that you're going to discuss, that you're going to write on that month. But I just need to see that you have it started, not completed. I don't need to see a lot of hours logged. I don't need to see much more than just the topic of your journal for that month. But that tells me that you have things in progress, that you're working toward your goal. This is just a checkpoint. I do not grade your log. I do not grade your journal. That's up to your practicum teacher. I am a checkpoint just to know that you are starting them, that you have them in progress, and that you're moving in the right direction for that observation window. So you would see that your first observation, everything with me needs to be complete by February 10th. We may do your observation February 1st, but we need to have everything complete by February 10th. That means you have everything back from me in plenty of time to meet your final deadline with ASU for everything that's due that observation window, which is February 24th. So this calendar is in there for your benefit to show you when things are due to me and when things are due to ASU. Now, if something happened, could we do something after that deadline that I have for me? Absolutely. That's why that deadline is built in there. That's why I always try to give a couple of weeks between my deadline and the ASU deadline. That way, if something happens, we still have a little bit of time. If not, then you're going to be late with your ASU submissions, and we don't want that. So we try to meet my deadline, then that gives a big hunk of everything that you have due that month ready for your ASU deadline. So that's why I make my deadlines ahead of time. Plus, it takes me a while to get all of that filed with ASU. I love the way that they're breaking down the observation windows now. It's just by the month. February is observation number 1, March is observation number 2, and April is observation number 3, even though April ends very early because the semester, they draw the semester to an end. But that gives you a calendar, and I just noted down there to please observe that my due dates are earlier than ASU due dates. Okay, and then, so we've talked about the pre-conference, the post-conference, and the observation itself. So that takes care of the formal observation. Now, I want to discuss with you the documents that I sent that say observation number 1 domains, number 2 domains, and number 3 domains. If you look at that document, it shows you, it tells you, for example, domain 2 is guidance. It tells you what that domain is about, that school counselors proactively provide guidance to assist all students in developing and applying skills for maximum educational, career, personal, and social growth during the school and beyond. So it just tells you what that domain is. Then it has the standards listed. So standard number 1, use accepted theories in addressing personal, social, career, cognitive, and educational development. So it just lists all of the standards that are under that domain. We will discuss each of those standards. Sometimes I do group them together to help it go a little faster. But we discuss those standards in your pre-conference. So to have looked them over would be nice. Some people even take some little notes, because I'm going to ask you what experience you've had with that standard. So that shows you what the domains are and what the standards are. Then if you'll look on the next page, it says domain descriptors. So it has broken down each standard and given you some descriptors. If you read these descriptors, it really helps you figure out what fits into these domains. So for your observations, the first observation period's easy. It has guidance in it. So nearly everybody does a guidance lesson. But when you get to observation window number 2 and observation window number 3, it isn't quite that easy. So just be sure that you look over these descriptors before you come to me, or we can look over them together to decide what you want to do for an observation. Now, can you do a guidance lesson in observation window number 2 because guidance is not in that window? Absolutely. But the guidance lesson would have to fit one of the domains. So we can work things like that out, and usually we can work just about anything into that observation window. We just need to be sure. And I will ask you, what domain and standard do you think we should code this under? Because I have to have a domain and a standard in order to file your observation. So these descriptors are very helpful to help us determine what you actually want to do your observation over and what domain and standard does it fall under. So that's why I've done these. And they're organized by the observation window. Observation number 1 covers domains 2, 3, and 4, which are guidance. I have to look them up. I don't have them memorized. What are they actually? Counseling and consultation. So it covers those 3 domains, and you have the descriptors to tell you what those are. So those documents are very important to you. And then the next set of documents that I had you print and put in your notebook are your coaching tips. I have found that there are some areas of counseling that are harder for our students. I think we as a university have worked through some of this, and we're doing a much better job. For example, when I first started observing, my students would do small group counseling, and it wasn't small group counseling, it was just guidance lesson in a smaller group. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference between small group counseling and a guidance lesson, regardless of the number of the students that are in the guidance lesson. So just be sure that you read over those coaching tips, because when I evaluate you in your observation, I will be using these kind of as a guideline. So just read over them. I'm certainly not going to read them to you, but you have some tips over guidance, you have some over small group, you have some over individual counseling, consultation, planning a guidance session, doing a webinar review. So you have tips over 6 different areas. And if there's something else that you want to do, ask me about it and we'll talk through it. And you may be able to do it as long as it falls under that counseling guideline. So that kind of talks about those coaching tips. I want to talk about your site supervisor evaluation. Often our site supervisors think that they have to have watched you do a guidance lesson or watched you do individual counseling before they can fill out their site supervisor evaluation. That is not true. Their evaluations are not formal evaluations. Mine is the formal evaluation. Their evaluation is what they see you doing on a daily basis. How are you communicating with them? What is your professionalism, your dress, the way you communicate with students? Just things like that. It's a checklist. It shouldn't take them more than 2 or 3, 4, 5 minutes to do. So it's not a hard task for them to complete that site supervisor evaluation prior to our pre-conference, because it is not a formal evaluation. It's just what they see in you on a daily basis. So be sure and remind your site supervisor that you need that site supervisor evaluation before we do our pre-conference, so that I can already have seen it, and that they do not have to include in that a formal evaluation of a guidance lesson or individual counseling or a consultation of some kind. It should only take them just a very few minutes to fill that out. Now I want to talk a little bit about your log and journal. I've already mentioned that when I was talking about the calendar, but I need to see a few hours logged in your log, and I need to see just a little bit started in your journal before your observation, so that I can say that you are on track, that you are progressing toward the end of that observation period. They do not need to be complete. So don't think you've got to have 30 or 40 or 50 hours logged. No, just a few hours in a domain or two. You do not have to have your journal complete. You may have only selected the topic that you're going to write on that observation period, but I do need to see them for each observation period prior to your observation. There is a place on my observation form, the Google form that goes to ASU, that asks if I've seen those, and I want to be able to say yes. So your log in your journal, just make sure that at the very first few days of that new observation period, that new month, that you've logged some hours and that you have written in your journal. And other than that, I just want you to understand how much I want to help you this semester. I am here to help you. I am here to give you suggestions to help build your skill set, to help you understand the domains and the standards as we go through them, to help you understand what your role as a counselor is, and just to be there to walk you through this journey, with you through this journey. And so do not hesitate ever to ask me anything. I've been asked everything that can be asked. You are not going to surprise me. There is not a topic that a student brings to you that can surprise me. I was a counselor for 20 years. I've taught at the university level in counseling courses for 25 years. And I've been a field supervisor now for another 6 or 8 years or more. So I'm past being surprised. So whatever you feel like you need to ask me, talk to me about, please feel open and relaxed and free to discuss anything that you have with me. I have worked with students through very bad site supervisor situations, through situations with their administrator. I've worked with very touchy counseling. I'm not here to tell you how to counsel. I want you and your site supervisors to do that, but I am here to listen and maybe to make suggestions or have you thought about this or that. So never hesitate to ask me anything about any part of this journey. I want you to be successful, and I want you to feel confident when you're finished with your practicums that you can walk into a counseling position. Are we ever totally prepared? Absolutely not. You know, you learn something every day, every semester, every year of your counseling experience, no matter how many years you counsel. But I'm here to help you be as prepared as you can and as confident as you can be to walk into a counseling position. I want you to be successful, and I want to be a part of that. So I support you. I enjoy you. More than anything, I want you to understand that I truly enjoy taking this journey with you. It thrills me to death to watch you grow. I see you come in your first practicum and you're scared to death and you're not sure about this and you don't know about that. And I watch you exit that second practicum as confident and good. And I love that and I enjoy that. That's why I do it. And so know that I am here for you and that I'm here to make that journey with you and to make it the best possible journey that it can be. So use me for whatever you need and learn to be relaxed with me and learn to just let me do what I need to do and you do what you need to do, and let's just enjoy this journey together. So I appreciate you listening to this video. I am anxious to get this semester started, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.